Poems like HMS Hero by Michael Roberts take me back to my war years in the Royal Navy. Pale grey, her guns hooded, decks clear of all impediment, easily between the swart tugs she glides in the pale October sunshine. It is Saturday afternoon and the men are at football. The wharves and the cobbled streets are silent by the slow river. Smoothly, rounding the long bend, she glides to her place in history. Past the grimed windows, cracked and broken, past Swan Hunters, Hawthorne Leslie's, Armstrongs, down to the North Sea and trials and her first commission. Here is grace and a job well done, built only for one end. Women watch from the narrow doorways and give no sign. Children stop playing by the wall and stare in silence at gulls wheeling above the Tyne or the ship passing. And this next poem must have been written by someone who served and probably suffered in Her Britannic Majesty's Royal Navy. Chief Petty Officer by Charles Causley. He is older than the naval side of British history and sits more permanent than the spider in the enormous wall. His barefoot, coal-burning soul expands, puffs like a toad in the convict air of the Royal Naval Barracks at Devonport. Here in depot, in his stone nirvana, more real than the opium pipes, the uninteresting relics of his Edwardian Foreign Commission, and from his thick stone box, he surveys with a prehistoric eye the hostilities' only ratings. He has the face of the dinosaur that sometimes stares from old Victorian naval photographs, that of some elderly lieutenant with boots and a celluloid crippen collar, brass buttons, and cruel, ambitious eyes of almond. He was probably made a Freemason in Hong Kong. He has a son on war work in the dockyard and an appalling daughter in the Wrens. He writes on your draft sheet, tobacco permit or request form in a huge antique Borstal hand and pins notices on the board in the chief's mess requesting his messmates not to lay on the billiard table. He is an anti-Semite and has somewhat reactionary views and reads the pictures in the Daily News. And when you return from the nervous Pacific, where the seas shift like sheets of plate glass in the dazzling morning, or when you return browner than Alexander from Malta, where you have leaned over the ship's side in harbour and seen in the clear water the salmon tins, wrecks, and tiny explosions of crystal fish, a whole war later, he will still be sitting under a pusser's clock, waiting for tot time, his narrow forehead ruffled by the Jutland wind. To end with Siegfried Sassoon's recollection of joy at the end of the First World War. Everyone sang. Everyone suddenly burst out singing, and I was filled with such delight as prisoned birds must find in freedom, winging wildly across the white orchards and dark green fields, on and out of sight. Everyone's voice was suddenly lifted, and beauty came like the setting sun. My heart was shaken with tears, and horror drifted away. Oh, but everyone was a bird, and the song was wordless. The singing will never be done.